Hi, guys. Welcome to the Power Network. I'm Amy. Since Chris Watts penned that letter from prison blaming the Jezebel for the crime, aka Nichol Kessinger, the oily gravesite where he disposed of his family's bodies has been gaining significant attention. Join us as we delve into this and other updates on the Watts tragedy. I thought I would do one of those things where I just kind of went around the internet to see what was new, and this seems to be popping up, so stay tuned. I'm going to roll some credits as we wait for the rest of the Watts Island boaters to arrive. Shout out to my Power Replay crew and my dragonflies. How are you guys doing?
Carefully strumming his old guitar again. Words rolling out into air and fly. Carefully strumming his old guitar again. Words rolling out into wildfire. If heaven had wings, I would steal them and fly away with you for a while. Hearing the essence of gratitude, your dreamy little smile on my lips. I miss my cue, but baby, I had you. Miss my cue, but I had you for that day.
Here in the essence of gratitude, I'm here with my Watts Island crew again. Yes, Rich, I know the Cervi isn't there anymore. They tore it down. I think it was because there were people going to visit, but we're going to take a look at an article, and then we're going to take a look at the Cervi site. Where is it now? What's going on? Why is it getting new interest? And also I looked around the internet to see if there was anything else up, and I thought we would just take a look at it. So I thought we'd just like pop around the internet and see what's up with the Watts case. We have an exciting Saturday night interview coming up. We have a body analysis coming on, somebody who does body analysis. She's a psychologist. Her name is Indigo, and we are going to analyze Chris Watts and Nichol Kessinger's body language. Jen from Crafted Evidence will be here, and Indigo is the name of the channel that will be joining us. I have a post up in our community section, and also the live is up for Saturday. It's going to be Saturday at 8:30. So we're really excited about that. Today, we're coming to you on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Hello, my loves. Be sure to give us a thumbs up, however you do it on the platform you're at. It just helps us dance out into the algorithm, party out there, and bring more people back to the party. It's just a free way to help me out, and it's really, really appreciated. I see that there are some people in chat with me today. I want to say hi to Rich. Hi, I see Mally. Hi, Mally. And I see Kelly. Hi, Kelly. And I thought I saw some other people, but I don't. Okay, but hi to everybody out there listening, not participating. Hello to my replay crew and my dragonflies. Okay, so the Cervi 319 seems to be on the radar right now. It kept popping up, and I did the search. Hi, Cowboy RC. How are you doing? I saw that you did an interview. I haven't gotten to listen to it all yet. Been really busy, but I'm so excited that you did another interview. We'd love to have you on again on our channel. Your interview did really well. People really responded to it. So the Cervi 319 has always been a fascinating topic for me, and I'm glad that it's coming back up, that it's people are starting to be interested in it ever since Chris wrote the Jezebel letter, stating that, Nichol Kessinger was part of it. And there's always been like the rumors of the vomit and the poo out at the site. And I always thought it was fascinating that Chris supposedly did all that stuff out at the site, and then his work crew showed up and they just all stood on the ground that Shannann was buried in, and right by the Thankx where the girls were submerged. I mean, it's just been a fascination for me. And how do you guys feel about the Cervi 319? Lynn 19 says, has anyone dug a similar grave in similar ground to see how long it takes? They did take Chris footprints. I think the reason they did so is because of the footprints seen at Cervi 319. I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen a video of anyone digging in that ground. I don't know how hard it is. We're going to take a look at some of the photos after we read this article. I wanted to go in and look at, I did pull up some videos of Cervi 319. So maybe we'll come across something like that. I don't know. But this is an article from Radar, and it was April, I think it said April 24th. Where is April 22nd, 2025, Haley Gunn. And we often don't read or watch everything that we view during our lives, but I will put it over in the YouTube show notes, and we do this to cite our sources and for fair play use. So let's get into it, shall we? All right, so Chris Watts's murder scene. See the sickening crime scene and evidence photos, including the grave he dug to dump Shannann's wife Shannann's body, after his jailhouse letters are revealed. So the recently revealed jailhouse letters from Chris Watts has revived interest in his wife Shannann and their daughter's murders, as he blamed his wife and his mistress for his heinous actions. Radar Online has revisited the crime scene photos, including Shannann's clothes and the shallow grave and oil tanks where Chris carelessly disposed of his family members' bodies. So this is the grave site where Shannann, and these are the oil tanks over here. And I just always envision them standing, like when the workers came out to the site, that they were just kind of all standing casually right here. Well, here Shannann was, and over here the girls were. I mean, that's got to live. And if you're a caring person, that's got to rent space in your head. If you were one of the people just standing out there talking and not knowing. In the early morning hours of August 13th, 2018, Chris brutally unalived his pregnant wife by wrapping his hands around her throat at the family's home in Frederick, Colorado. Of course, this is Chris's first version of the story, or was it his second or his third? I don't know. This was one of his versions. He then unalived their two daughters, 4-year-old Bella and 3-year-old Celeste, by suffocation. Chris then drove their bodies out to, this is the first one, because he then later said that he did the girls out at the oil tanks. So we're going with his first version here. Chris then drove their bodies out to the oil storage facility, where he dug a shallow grave for Shannann and put her daughter's bodies in crude oil tanks. Hours before she was murdered, Shannann was driven home by their friend and colleague Nicole Atkinson after returning from a business trip in Arizona. Shannann's friends were almost immediately concerned for her well-being after she failed to return text messages and missed a business meeting and a doctor's appointment. Atkinson went to the Watts home a little after noon to check on her. She then called Chris and the Frederick police. This was the t-shirt she was found in, and the bra and panties. Chris gave police permission to search his home, where responding officers found Shannan's cell phone, purse, and medicine, but no signs of the pregnant mother or the two young girls. Initially, Chris told police he was not sure where his wife would be and claimed he last saw her at 5:15 a.m. that morning. He additionally pleaded for his wife to come home in eerie local news interviews taken from outside their home. Now, these are the sheets that she was found wrapped in. A day after Shannan and her daughters were reported missing, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, CBI, and FBI joined the case. On August 15th, Chris failed a polygraph test. He then confessed to his father, Ronnie, and then to authorities. He was arrested the same day. After his arrest, Chris led authorities to the oil storage facility where they recovered Shannan, Bella, and Celeste's remains. Chris was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of death of a child who had not yet attained 12 years of age, and the defendant was in a position of trust. He was additionally charged with unlawful termination of a pregnancy and 3 counts of tampering with a deceased human body. On November 6th, which is my birthday, Chris pleaded guilty. As RadarOnline.com, everything happens in November, though, it seems like sinister stuff seems to happen in November. Chris appeared to blame everyone but himself, but for the deaths of his wife and 2 daughters, and leaked jailhouse letters. In the letters, which he wrote to friends, acquaintances, and even God, Chris claimed Shannan was a control freak who didn't give him enough attention. Chris further claimed Shannan drove him to have an affair with his mistress, Nichol Kessinger, who he referred to as a harlot and evil woman, who tempted him with speech and lust in her eyes, flesh. I'll say somebody had in their eyes and in their flesh, but maybe it wasn't who you're blaming, Chris Watts. Maybe it wasn't. What do you guys think? Why do you think he chose the Cervi 319 site as the place to dump the bodies? I thought we'd go over to Reddit before we go into some videos, because, you know, I like my Reddit. I do like my Reddit, and look and see what they're saying over there. Chris Watts and the Cervi grave site. In responding to another post, I realized I've had a question for a long time that has never been answered. Chris Watts parked his Anadarko work truck at the edge of the field where he buried Shannan in the shallow, hastily dug grave. Yet I've never read that there were any tire marks or drag marks in the gravesite, to the gravesite. How did he or someone get Shannan to that place? Chris has claimed he couldn't even carry Shannan down the stairs. That is an interesting question. We think somehow Chris had these superhuman strength, but although I did watch a video recently of somebody who was down in the basement looking at footage of his weight bench down there, and they were trying to gauge how much weight Chris was able to bench, and then in relation to could he lift a dead body, which I can't remember how much Shannan weighed, but I mean, she probably weighed about 150-ish or 150, I would say. She was pregnant, and I think she's like 5'6" or something, so I'd put her at that. So, and then, but dead weight is supposed to be even heavier than what they really are. So could he lift dead weight like that? Yeah, Cervi 319 has been taken down. It has been torn down. It was very isolated. Hey, Rosie, I hope your mouth is feeling better. It was very isolated and no one is within miles. I think that's why Cervi. And do you think, Rose, that he was planning on blowing it up? Because, you know, he did take those oil or those gas tanks and was put them in the back of the car. Do you think that that was like maybe on the menu, that possibly that's what was going to happen? Maybe, maybe not. Was the forensics at Cervi 319 done in the same diploma as at the house? Probably. They probably stuck things in, you know, the wrong paper bags or plastic bags, whatever you're not supposed to use, they probably used. Although, you know what, the Cervi 319 must have been a horrific thing to have to go through. I think the people that had to go to the site and get the little girls' bodies out of the oil tank, to this day, I've seen newspaper articles where there's horrible issues, the workers that had to do that. So that seems like a really horrible thing to have to go through, you know. I don't know if I could do it. I really don't. Hey Jamie, how are you? It leaked, so it was to be taken down. I know that they had talked about, there was like that whole thing. We'll have to look into it further. I can't go deep down into the Cervi rabbit hole, but I know like there was a leak and that was the whole reason he went out. There's been questions on how did Chris really get the girls down the hatch, or did he somehow get them through down below? But how could he have gotten it? There was a second place where you could open the oil site, but how could you open it without tons of oil gushing out? So the oil site to me is a very interesting piece of the puzzle that I don't think we've looked at enough. Gabriel says, Kelly, it was my understanding that Cervi 319 was slated to be destroyed that September. It was destroyed. I've seen a video where somebody has gone out to it, and I think they have it where you can't get to it. You can't even, or either they couldn't figure out where it was anymore because they tore it down, or that they have it blocked now. So how was he going to get home if he blew up the oil tanks? I don't know. It seems like he might have had to park kind of further away from the oil tanks than had to walk up to it or something. I don't know. He certainly, maybe, okay, this is just assuming that Chris did it all himself, because I really can't say if he did it with somebody else or he didn't do it with somebody else, because I'm there. I don't think anybody can truly say it, because Chris isn't even telling the truth in it. So let's just go with the story that he did it all himself. I think the whole process of getting Shannann and the girls out to the truck took far longer than he anticipated. So I don't think he had as much time. So I think maybe if he was going to blow it up, he just didn't have time to do it. So it's just a guess on my part. He said he was worried that he would hurt people, but there was absolutely no one around and no houses. That's a huge area of land. Yeah. Unless he was worried that somebody would show up. He was very worried about what his coworkers would think of him. He was very worried about what anyone thought of him. If it had been investigated, they would have found footprints. That is an interesting, I forgot, I wanted to circle back to that, about no footprints or drag marks. Yeah. So I don't know, if he wasn't able to get her down the stairs, and that was downhill momentum, without dragging her, I don't know how. Well, hold on a second. Let's do this. Let's go back to that picture. This picture here. I have more pictures that we're going to look at, but this is just okay. So this is this grave here. Let me see what happens if I get it bigger, make sure. Okay, so this is the grave site here, and this oil tank's over here. Now we can see some trucks parked here and here, right? So, and I think I recall them saying, the co-workers, and you guys would have to double check this. This is just, this is all my opinion. This is all my research for just my opinion research for educational purposes only. But I seem to recall one of the co-workers saying that Chris's truck was parked in an unusual spot, but I can't remember where it was parked. So let's just say unusual, meaning it was closer to over here because Shannan's the heavier body. So let's just say he was parked here. You would still have to carry or drag her a distance because he probably would not be parked over here in the weeds, you know, because no, you would, yeah. So that's a good point. I don't know. We're going to look at some of the more of the crime scene photos and does anyone seem to recall, were there any footprints or drag marks around the grave that tipped him off? Yes, the Cervi Ranch is a really long area. And yes, the oil levels were lower than normal. And one of the girls' tanks was lower than the other one. It was taken down. CW's work truck on Nate's CCTV does not show any cab movement down when he supposedly put SW's dead weight body into the back cab. Yes, I've seen that before. I don't during the time when everybody was going through the evidence, this was during a time where I was recovering from a stroke. So I didn't really go deep into the truck evidence or the Cervi 319 evidence. So I am just now revisiting it. So I'm so happy that you guys know more than I do and that you're telling me all this. And I'm glad that we're revisiting it and that you guys are excited to do it too, because I think there could be some clues here if we really looked at it. But let's keep going. This was another thing that I was interested in looking into further. I've heard a lot of people talk about the poo that was found out at the Cervi 319, but also the vomit. I've seen people claim that there was vomit at Cervi 319, but they never cite their source. This is another thing. Where is this vomit source coming from? That I'm very curious about that too. There's no mention of this in Discovery. We know he took a poo at Cervi 1029. Oh, it was at 1029 because there's video photos of it. Oh, so it was even at a different Cervi that he did the poo. Okay. Anyone know where the vomit info originated from, or is it another piece of misinformation? That's something that Jen and I have talked about, going through and trying to wade through the information and piece together where the source came from of the information to see if it's a valid, like, is it misinformation or is it information, right? Because there's a lot. Well, I heard this, I heard that, and I would just like to nail it down once and for all. I know it's not a big deal, but I'm just curious. Well, is any of this a big deal? Like, something could seem like a big deal, but then it's the big deal. It's the deal that becomes the big deal, pulls it all together. Just curious, or is it not how these rumors start in the first place? And then it says it did happen. He did take a poo out there. He also ate his earwax. I saw him eat the earwax in the interrogation room. And he was also caught. Yeah, I think I saw the nose picking too. He's gross. He ate his earwax. someone recently posted the video where he actually does that in the interrogation room. It's really sickening. Let's see. I've read from male testimonies of prison life in high security prisons where the conditions are kept pretty secret from the public, that the cockroach infestations are so bad that it literally drives prisoners insane as they lose night after night of sleep from the cockroaches swarming the cells and crawling all over them in the dark. I heard Jumpsuit Pablo, say that, and he was in North Carolina, that at night something came out on the walls that you never wanted forget which bunk it was. I think it was one by the window because the bugs, maybe it was the spiders, came in through the windows or something and drove the prisoners crazy because they could get bitten by those. But is that true about the cockroaches, Cowboy RC? Cowboy RC is an ex-prison sergeant, so you would know. I don't remember. I just remember I would go to the jail and do the intakes and the smell. I don't remember seeing any bugs or anything, but the humidity and the smells. I remember the smells. Those would drive you insane. Although I guess if you're in the smells for long enough, you just you don't realize you're smelling the smells, maybe. So what you guys did the vomit? Where did the vomit information come from? Does anybody know? Has anyone heard of this? Because I hear it mentioned a lot, but I don't hear where it happened. So this person says, so he filmed himself taking a dump in the place where he unalived his kids and his wife and kids, and then this POS has an entire sub dedicated to defend him and stating how abused he is. And this person says, no, at these sites they work at, not all of them have porta potties, so if they have to go, they will go in the surrounding fields of dirt. They carry around toilet paper because of this. When CW went to a different site after Cervi 319, he told the other guys he had to go take a dump, which isn't abnormal, so they thought nothing of it. After everything came out and suspicion of CW rose, the guys that he was at the site with when he took a dump thought he may have been doing something else, like maybe getting rid of evidence in the hole he dug to cover up the poo. That's the rule of common courtesy at those sites without porta potties. Dig a hole, go, then cover it up so no one steps in it. It would be a perfect excuse to be gone and make sure no one followed him while buying evidence. I read an article once where I guess that's a common thing for people after they unalive somebody. They have to go to the bathroom. They have to take a poo. And there was this one case that I was reading about that the killer literally did it right next to the body. But also it happened in the Amanda Knox case where it was left in the toilet, if you guys remember that case. So they mentioned this to LE, and LE decided to head out there to take a look. And they did find a freshly disturbed small area, but it was only poo, no evidence in that hole or in the surrounding areas. I wish they would have went to the dumpsters behind the Watts house and maybe found all of the blankies and stuff like that instead of digging up a poo hole. But anyway, I get why they did that. I'm just trying to see if anyone is saying anything about this. Person says he keeps TP in his glove box, and I don't think he would poop in a crowd, but I can't say that with 100%. Well, if you have to go, you have to go. And if he just did what he just did, I'm sure he would just go and do it. But I'm not seeing anything on the vomit, so if you guys have anything on that, if you want to email me, you can. It's Parawomenradio, and the women is plural, WOMEN, PARAWOMEN radio at gmail.com. If you want to email me anything on the Watts case, that would be great, but I am interested in this. Yeah, I would have to, especially in the summer, because there was no air conditioning in there. When I would get home, I would have to, that's when I would smell it. That's why I said maybe you don't smell it when you're in it, because then later I could smell it on the clothes. So, yeah. Yay, you made your first live. Oh, thank you for saying that. That's really sweet. Prison kitchens get cockroaches even in a dry climate. Prison definitely has a unique smell. Oh, the smell. Zawoki is searching for the same kind of truck to find out about it, I think he said. To see if it's big enough in the back to fit everything that he said he fit back there. It might be too cold at the prison he was at for excessive amounts. Yeah, that's it. Well, but I don't know. Seems like there might be, because prisons are any situation where there's a lot of people in one area, you get the roaches and the rats and the undesirables. Having to relieve oneself is common mammal behavior. Flight or flight response, like horses under stress, they always poop. It lightens the load for faster flight. Yeah. And Chris had to lighten his load for a faster flight because he was about to be in the flight of his life. He's such an idiot that he thought he could beat a polygraph test. Like, So one more Reddit. This person said, what happened to Cervi 319? Did they refill those oil tanks, and is it operational or abandoned? Not at all sure how the oil industry works. This was 6 years ago. So 6 years ago it was being used, but it's not anymore. I think I have a video that we're going to look at that shows that it's shut down. But I don't expect you just to take my word for it. I am going to try to show it to you that it's shut down. Okay, let's go and look at it when it was, what it looked like 6 years ago before they took it down. This is a guy called Forrest Haggerty Channel, and it looks like he went out there.
Video I almost didn't do because the content was so difficult for me to research and read about. But I think it's important that I put this video out there so that we stay aware that these type of psychopaths.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up, Rose. I am trying to get at 7K over on YouTube. A lot of you visit my channel but aren't subscribed, and sometimes YouTube will unsubscribe you. You think you're subscribed and you're not subscribed. So if you could just check, see if you're subscribed, and maybe by the end of this weekend, I can be up to 7K. That would be really exciting and new. So thank you for reminding me, Rose.
Walk among us, and they either have not committed the crime yet or they have not been caught yet. But this is my video on Chris Watts and what he did to his beautiful family. Scott Peterson and Lacey Roca were married August 9th, 1997. After they were married,
I don't know why we're looking at Scott Peterson, but let me move it forward.
Of Denver.
So he's looking at Google Earth and coming in on the Schmurder sites.
in this neighborhood, in this house right here. This is the house where Chris Watts and Shannann and their 2 daughters lived. Now, when we go down to street view, you can see at the time that the Google vehicle went through here, the house was not here. But between the time this picture was taken and the murders took place, 4 homes were built in this lot right here. And you can see this is a house that the Watts lived in, and then there are 3 other houses off to their right. Now, Chris Watts may have gotten away with it or would have been caught much later if it wasn't for the neighbor that lived in this house who had a security camera that was always filming. And it was filming from this area here out getting...
Oh, I never realized how much further out Nate's house comes than Chris's. Like, it comes out further in the front a little bit here, and it goes out further in the back.
The street here, and you could also see Chris Watts'
Let's look at
Watts
Betty's
driveway.
house.
The day that Shannann and her daughters went missing.
Yeah, even Betty's house is bigger. I always thought the Watts house looked bigger. These must just be longer, and the Watts house must be taller.
And the cops showed up. The neighbor here checked his security camera, and about 5:30 in the morning,
But okay,
you could see Chris.
look, I know we're here for Survey 319. Sorry, I got engrossed in this. Let's move forward to the survey site.
Most likely went this way.
Okay, so he's going to show how Chris drove out to the survey site.
Down this road. So that's Highway 52. Took the Highway 52.
This would have been the road if the girls were alive in the back, the drive, if the girls were alive in the back seat, would have taken.
All the way down through here. Till it met the 76. And on the 76, he took it all the way down through here. And my guess is he exited probably right here, went down this road, turned left up this road, probably took this road.
Wow, he went a distance.
Somewhere around through here, down this way. Now remember, this is just a guess. Down through here, probably down through here, possibly could have gone up through here, but his goal was to get to this spot right here. Where you can see these 2 tanks. There's an oil pump here. And what happened was this. I think he pulled his truck possibly up into this area. I don't know. He could have parked it over here at first. Then he took the security blanket for the 3-year-old daughter, Celeste, took her security blanket and used that to smother her. Then he took her lifeless body and...
Okay, so in that picture that we were looking at, here is the grave site, the oil tank. So, and they said he was parked in a weird place, so he's probably parked over here.
Dumped her in this tank right here. The opening to the tank was only 8 inches
Hi,
across, which is
Olga.
about 20 centimeters. And I heard one report say, heard it, I didn't read it, somebody was saying it. I heard that report, they said that he had to break some of her bones to get her into that little tiny 20 centimeter opening, 8 inches. He then came back to the vehicle. 4-year-old Bella said, "Are you going to do to me what you did to Cece?" He said he doesn't remember what he said to her, but he just remembers her last words were, "No, Daddy." And then he took...
I always had this idea, and this is just like my idea. Nothing's ever been proven, but I feel like Chris Watts is a lazy F. And I always had this idea that maybe he didn't do them separately, the girls. Maybe he didn't do them in the truck. Maybe he and I always felt like there was something wrong with Cece. Like, I do think that he tried to unalive them and that they woke back up. I do believe that. I believe they were alive at the site, but I do believe that there was something wrong with Cece. So I always just envision Chris as being the laziest F in the world. at this point, and he's running out of time. So I just envision him marching Bella up the stairs and carrying Cece, and then just doing it up there. Has that ever crossed anybody else's mind? Because I just don't picture Chris making all those trips. I don't know. Maybe, but does anyone else think that to save time, he would have done something like that? You think he did that to Bella? I have this sneaky suspicion that he really put Bella through it.
The same blanket and started smothering her. Now, the autopsy report said that 4-year-old Bella had bite marks on her tongue and on the inside of her mouth, on her cheeks, and that there was blunt force trauma to the left side of her jaw, which tells me that she was probably struggling, fighting for her life, and he either punched her to knock her unconscious so he could kill her easier, or smacked her in the jaw with his elbows. Probably punched her just to knock her unconscious so he could kill her. After he killed her, he took her up and put her in this tank right here, and once again had to stuff her through an 8-inch diameter opening, which is 20 centimeters across. Now, after
Because
that,
Bella wouldn't even stay in the house when he was taking her mother out to the car. Was he really gonna bring Cece up to the Thankx and leave Bella in the car? I mean, maybe he locked the door. I don't know, but I don't know.
he took his wife's body and he buried her somewhere over here. I'm not sure if it's right in here, somewhere in this area.
Yes, it was. It was right about here, because I thought this was it, but it was like right here, because you could see both oil tanks. So it was like about right here. Right there, I would say.
Could be here, but this is the generalized corner of where he buried his wife in a shallow grave after he murdered her. Now, some people are saying that it was a spontaneous murder. I think it was premeditated, because the day before, he told his buddies not to worry about going to this location here, that he would take care of it. And as far as I'm concerned, that's premeditation. This was a very difficult video for me to do.
I have heard weird stuff, I think, happened in the basement, and I've heard things like why did he take a picture of the inside of the freezer? Like, why did he need to know what the temperature of the freezer was, and why did the dogs hit there? And I've heard that Cece was in there. I don't, those are things that I would like to clear up. Like, where did that come from? And like, really look into it and just give it a once over. Is this a true, or is this just one of those Watts urban myths? So
there you have it. The Chris Watts murder of his wife, their unborn son Nico, his 3-year-old daughter Celeste, and his 4-year-old daughter Bella, right here on Google Earth.
So that was a look at the oil sites from Google Earth. Over here, Cervi 319 has been demolished. Oh, shoot. It's one of those videos that isn't there anymore. But people are saying, yes, the installation has been removed. Last production information in December 2019, and the well records show as it's plugged and abandoned. It was 21 years old and a low producing well before the Watts tragedy. I'm glad to see it gone. Nice drone footage. Thanks for sharing. Here is some of the drone footage before it was taken. So this is drone footage before it was taken. This is, sorry, I was on another site. I was trying to find footage of it gone, but here is, I think this is footage before they were removed from the Thankx and the grave, shallow grave. Video photos show oil site where bodies of Chris Watts' wife and daughters were found. This was the sheet, one of the sheets from their beds. I'm trying to see in the corner here. Would you guys be, not today, but would you guys be interested in going over the footage of the girls being removed from the oil site, or would that be too intense? Should I do that for members only? Or this person over here says Google still has a 2021 photo of it, and here is the photo of the site. You can see that it's not, I mean, it's gone, but this is where it was. I thought we could take a look at True Crime Rocket Science 4 years ago did hold on, I don't know where that's coming from. I've got to figure out, I've got so many things up, I've got to figure out where that sound is coming from. There it is. Okay, sorry about that, you guys. I thought we would take a look at this. So I know they can't be destroyed, but it's plugged up. So it's plugged up. So whatever that, like, it's not an operation. Yes, please. Okay. So I'll see. I think I'll see if somebody wants to do a live with me on that one. Okay, so let's take a look at this and see what the coworkers had to say.
If it's not this, it's that. And so the latest thing is a co-worker, someone who actually lives in Steeple Rock Drive, just down the road from Chris Watts, has sort of come forward and sort of told his sort of story, given his sort of version of events. And although some of it rings true and some of it is certainly interesting, and the top comments in the video gush about this co-worker's version of events being exactly like they probably happened, I kind of beg to differ a little bit. Just because, for example, the anonymous co-worker, Chris Watts, sort of showing up at the Platteville office, and there's absolutely no sign of that in the GPS footage. And not only that, there's no other co-worker who says that. So if it's true that he did show up at the office, there's only one witness saying that he did, and where everybody else
Someone was saying that Chris Watts went to the office that day because wasn't it reported that he didn't go to the office that day?
Don't say that he did. And I don't really know what time he could have showed up at the office if he was at the well site and then he sort of came back from the well site straight home. So it kind of calls that into question. What is quite interesting, and it's unfortunate that the channel didn't sort of question the anonymous worker a little bit more about it, was the office politics at Anadarko. On the one hand, you can kind of...
When I go down here to try to see if they have any show notes to see who they is, this is another, this is the problem with the Watts case. There's so many videos that have been removed. So, oops, I got to go back and reshare my screen. There's so many videos that have been removed that it's annoying.
Understand that he's not free to be too
but maybe he'll mention who this coworker is.
Candid about that sort of thing, because as far as I know, he still works at Anadarko. We're not quite sure what his identity is. His wife's name's Ashley. We don't know too much beyond that. He does certainly make some interesting observations. He says that while Shannann was away, that they noticed, him and his wife noticed that Watts was never home. So for most of July, he was just sort of AWOL. You know, he would come home from work and then he wouldn't be home. The other thing is he thought that he saw Chris Watts. I think he said that him and his wife thought they saw a woman in a vehicle with Chris Watts, but a woman that wasn't his wife. Now, I'm not quite sure what vehicle that was. I presume it might be the Lexus or...
When? Sound like a owl, except I'm saying when.
Just car, but probably the Lexus. And then I think he said something about Watts accelerated when this guy tried to sort of catch up with him. So, you know...
Can't you see Chris Watts doing that? He's such an idiot. Ooh, I'm gonna go faster. He won't know. He won't know it's me.
That certainly gives you kind of a sense of the reality of the situation, right? The other thing that doesn't quite kind of make sense is that he says Kessinger didn't show up to work at all on the 13th. Now, either this means that there's some kind of conspiracy going on in terms of at the office, a lot of people are covering for her or something like that, or he simply didn't see her. She was there, but he simply didn't see her. She was in her office, but he simply didn't see her. I don't know. I don't know if it's... And so I do know that when he mentioned this, someone on the channel sort of...
None of this makes sense because she was there in the morning. So none of this is making any sense.
Went like, oh, wow, that's amazing. One person saying they didn't see something doesn't mean that that's a fact. It just means that was their experience. They may have just missed Kessinger, right? So I don't know. This anonymous coworker sort of gives quite a glowing endorsement of Chris Watts. He sort of says, I realized that he did what he did, although he seems to put the blame on Kessinger, that Kessinger actually did something, that she was actually there. But what also does sort of pass that sort of smell test.
All right, I'm going to turn into an owl now. Who is this guy? Who? I want to know who. I'm sorry, the link isn't working, so I don't know. I don't even know. Does it take when I click on the link, does it take me to whose channel it was? It doesn't even tell me up here whose channel it once even was. So I don't know. But let me get us back to where we were.
And then I think he said something about Watts accelerated when this guy tried to sort of catch up with him. So, you know, he simply didn't see her. I don't know if it's... And so I do know that when he mentioned this, someone on the channel sort of went like, oh, wow, that's amazing. One person saying they didn't see something doesn't mean that that's a fact. It just means that was their experience. They may have just missed Kessinger, right? So I don't know. This anonymous coworker sort of gives quite a glowing endorsement of Chris Watts. He sort of says, I realized that he
Do
what he
we
did.
know that Chris Watts' coworker that has a wife named Ashley? Does any of you amazing researchers know any of Chris Watts's Anadarko workers that has a wife named Ashley?
Did, although he seems to put the blame on Kessinger, that Kessinger actually did something, that she was actually there. But what also does sort of pass that sort of smell test is where he says that he thinks that when Chris Watts lost weight, it kind of went to his head. When he got attention from Kessinger, it also went to his head. He also mentions, I don't know whether this is true, but this is his opinion or his observation, was that he said that Kessinger flirted with a lot of people at work or something to that effect, and used other kind of unsavory words to describe her. And according to him, a lot of the guys didn't really respond, but Chris Watts did. Now, I have actually in the past raised this whole issue of the fact that the oil industry is a male-dominated workplace, and Kessinger was sort of in this situation as a kind of a single woman surrounded by these sort of young bucks. And so surely they had...
I think that says a lot about Nichol Kessinger, it being a male industry and her wanting to be in that industry, wanting to be, yeah. I think it says a lot about her, because there was that one, I bring this interview, which I would love to find it one day, where this woman, she had mouth work. And so I remember just hearing a lot of mouth stuff. But she went to the same gym that Nichol Kessinger went to. And she said that Nichol would hit on only the guys that were married. She was very into married guys. So and it's very interesting that she would want to be in an industry where she would probably be the only woman around. Very interesting, right?
Had to have been some sort of sexual tension, sexual awareness, sexual awakening, whatever. And in this situation, Chris Watts was kind of a sitting duck. I mean, here is this woman who seemed to have quite a big appetite in that sense. And Chris Watts had very little experience with the opposite sex, and he's not happy in his marriage. Maybe his wife is happy. He wasn't very happy in his marriage. And then he meets this woman, and she's kind of pursuing, it seems.
Let's go forward and see if he drops any good stuff.
Wow, this woman is actually paying attention to me, and he enjoyed that feeling. And then she enjoyed.
Yeah, we know that Chris enjoyed that feeling, and Nichol made him feel like he was being heard, but she was just really planning her ideas into him. And she was the pick me kind of girl that, like, oh, you like cars? I do too. Oh, you like I don't know, whatever else Chris liked. Oh, you like the Rocky games or whatever? Oh, I do too. You know, whatever he liked, whatever Chris liked, she liked.
Demon takes control of them, and so the demon should go on trial and should be sentenced to life in prison. Is that really what you want? Because if you're going to do that, if you're going to kind of give the blame to...
Okay, but does he go on to what were the beans that were spilled?
All that other stuff, that wishy-washy...
Give me beans!
Kind of, demons and dragons stuff is kind of fluff that gets in the way. The one dragon that I think is very... very important and very
complete pick me girl, and those are so hard to deal with. Those kind of people, they're just so hard to deal with. I don't know how guys just don't get so like annoyed by it, but whatever.
Appropriate to true crime is the dragon of emotion. And in the old stories about the knight slaying the dragon,
I guess the smart guys don't fall for it. So
actually means is you are overcoming the monster within, your emotions. You're slaying your emotions. You're becoming the master of yourself. What is quite interesting when I lived in the East was that the dragon isn't a symbol to be feared necessarily. It's not necessarily like an opponent as it is in the West. It's just a symbol of power. So in other words, a dragon is simply power. And you can either have that dragon on your side, you can have it kind of through the circumstances. Does that make sense? I actually meant to talk about in this episode Chris Watts' sadistic psychology, but instead this coworker sort of, said his thing, and it's obviously getting a lot of attention. So,
speaking of his sadistic psychology, did anyone ever happen to catch the interview of the friend that went to school with Chris in the early years and said that Chris liked to hurt them or make them do embarrassing things or something like that? Like he had a sadistic side to him. Did that? I wish I could find all these old interviews that I listened to with my eyes closed, because the Watskis happened right after I had the stroke. And so a lot of these interviews, I didn't even look at the screen. I was just listening to stuff. And I wasn't, saving stuff at that time. I wish I really had saved. But yeah. There's other YouTube videos where like this guy does a drive from the Cervi 319 from the Watts house. I've seen people do that where they take the entire drive. Cervi 319 Paranormal Investigation. What's that?
I'm going to end this one on both this and here, and then I'll be back and we'll continue this investigation. All right, so we're going to have to do it again. Now we're recording. So we're going to go back to the podcast, see what we can get here. Hopefully this goes on.
This is probably why they took down the Cervi 319, because people were going out and doing paranormal investigations. I saw one where it was so funny. It's probably not funny, but it made me laugh really hard, where this guy was, sorry, you guys, the bird, when I do a daytime live, the bird joins me, and the bird likes to take the little thing on the drawer and move it back and forth. And so if you hear that continuous sound, that's what he's doing. He was taking a bath and now he's done. So I'll probably have to wind things down here in a second. But the guy was driving down the street and they had their windows open and something scared him and he screamed. And you know how that one road lead to the Watts house, it's like an echo chamber, and it just echoed down the whole street. This huge loud male scream, like "Rah!" That kind of scream, and it just echoed down the street. And he's like, oh my gosh, everyone probably hates me. But yeah, there were people and they would sit outside the house, and so I guess, and then they would go out to the Cervi 319 oil. If this looks like it's just at though. Is it at the beginning?
Most uncomfortable feeling, and I feel like we really got answers on that one. I'm going to end this one on both this and here, and then I'll be back and we'll continue this investigation.
I don't know. What do you guys think about all the paranormal stuff that people do? Oh, this must be out at Cervi. Yeah, this is at the Cervi.
Cervi 319. All right, guys, we are officially here at Cervi 319, where Shannann, Cece, and Nico's life were ended shortly, and the two girls, Bella and Cece, were taken over to the Thankx, and it's literally just right there. We just got back from there, and Shannann was buried over in the dirt. He dug a little grave for her. So we are going to attempt to do a session. Okay. we got to just make sure that
I
we
don't
stay away
think
from
Chris
it.
played the field when he was younger. SW may have been one of his first, so having Nichol show interest would have been exciting for him. I agree, Lotus Spider. Hi, by the way.
Then we can eliminate any false positives. There we go.
Okay.
Okay. So we have the REM pod that's right here. We have the eye ovulus right here. And we are going to do the spirit box session, guys. So I guess ready? Let's get started.
Who wants to bet that he's going to capture something? The lights are cool.
Okay, yeah, that'll work. Just do that one. All right, ready?
Make sure nothing turns on over here.
Yeah, make sure the speakers still come on or anything. You're gonna turn it off. Good.
Measure.
Measure. Measure. All right, let's go. Ready?
Yep.
Husband.
Husband. Are you talking about Chris?
Strange.
That's kind of crazy. Yeah, that is strange. It just said husband. Okay. Before we even got started. Oh no. We just turned that on and that thing's already going off. Who's here? My headphones are disconnected. That thing's going off. The REM pod's going off, guys.
Who's here?
Here. It just said here.
And who's here?
We're looking for any spirits that know about Shannann, Watts, Bella, Watts, Cece, Watts.
So it said husband, strange, and right hand. Whatever that means. I think ghost investigations are full of crap, but I like to play along because it's kind of fun. Yeah, that way too. I don't believe in it. I have experienced like it rarely happens. I think it's very rare. But I am interested in it. I'm interested in it. I want it to be true, but I don't believe in it mostly. But I believe in the cryptoid stuff. I think that the government's making creatures. So I do believe in that stuff. Being at the Watts house gives you a chilling and creeping feeling. Yeah, I would like to actually go to the Watts house. I'm kind of like bummed that it's been renovated and that I wish that I could have seen it how it originally was. I wonder what is going on with the house. I did do a little when I was trying to do the research for today, I did kind of look to see if anything new was showing up on the house, and not really. This is all that this was 5 months ago.
Murdered his family has officially sold for more than $500,000, according to realtor. Watts is currently serving several life terms. In 2018, a jury convicted Watts for the death of his pregnant wife.
Just that the house is sold. We reported on that. So, but if anybody lives in the area and you are willing to go by the house, I mean, don't make a nuisance of yourself and, whatever. I would love to have some footage to see what it looks like. But yeah. Doing some other stuff, updates. There wasn't a whole lot of other updates that I saw. I saw that Martin Decoder looks like he did something on Chris Watts' prison phone call with mother, makes the case even darker. If you want to take a look at that. Somebody else is reporting. Jen and I showed you the new mugshot the other night. So if you haven't seen it, it was taken in 23 or 24 or something like that. But it's a mugshot that people rarely use. So there's that mugshot that is going around. I thought this was interesting. I wanted to wrap up the Oh, also with the Watts house, Rose and I shared this there's an update with the change of address.
Friends, I have an update for you on the Chris Watts murder house. It looks like the infamous home has been changed from 2825 to now, look a little bit closer. You will see right above this dot, 2586 is now the new home address. Here's 2586 with the street view of the Watts house. What do you think? Subscribe for more.
Put the link to everybody that we view down in the show notes. Rose's channel is a really fun channel to subscribe to, and sometimes she comes on and does Weird Watts Wednesdays with me. So I saw that Zawoki did something. Holy crap, is Chris Watts' case getting out of control? I just wanted to take a peek at that. What's getting out of control in the Chris Watts case? Yeah. Be sure to give this live a thumbs up and check to see if you're subscribed. We're trying to hit 7K subscribers over on YouTube. We're getting close. We're screaming up on it. I think we're like 100 or like 80 away. So hopefully by the end of this weekend, we will be at 7K. That's going to be exciting. All right, let's see. Let's pop it forward.
1,000 subscribers. It's all because of you guys. And then, like I said before, go over to Plunder, give her some love, subscribe, comment, like, and share. With that being said, let's get into the video.
A brick thrown through a YouTuber's window. A stranger arrested for arriving at the home of Shanann Watts' parents with a knife, gloves, and a Bible.
Oh, we've already actually looked at this, so we're not going to look at this. I will put the link for when we took a look at this down in the show notes. Let me see what you guys are saying over in chat. I believe in dreams. I do too. I'm actually a dreamer. I dream things. And I kind of like know things. I'll know if something's going to happen or not. But I think everybody has the ability to be that way. It's just our gut and intuition. We are creatures. We're animals. We do have instincts. We just ignore them all the time. But if we tune into them, that's where I think the psychics get their psychic stuff. They're just tuning into what we all could do. And psychics will even say that you can do this, but I don't know. I think some of them, I've been watching this one channel that's been debunking a lot of psychics and how they do what they do. Can't remember the name of it. If I can remember, I'll put it down in the links, but show notes, I mean. But she debunks all the psychics, and because she grew up in a psychic family and her mother taught her the ways of being psychic, and it's kind of like the ways of reading people, which kind of reminds me of, like, we're having Indigo on. She is a behavioral analysis, and she's going to analyze Chris Watts and Nichol Kessinger's body behavior for us this Saturday. And I mean, really what this psychic was basically saying, her mother was training to be a body analysis person. So, and I think some people do have like true psychic abilities, but again, I think it's very rare. I don't think it's as popular and as easy, and I don't know. But I do think we all have the ability if we tuned into our instinctual nature. I think that science is starting to explain a lot of the woo-woo things that, you know, we once thought was out there. We're learning that like everything is energy, and yeah. What else are you seeing or saying? Seeing. I don't think you guys are saying anything new, so. Oh, really? Rose says that she went down to the evidence place in Weld County and she can't imagine she was in the same building as those sheets, her clothes, etc. What a creepy feeling. Yeah, because they're still in there, aren't they? Packed away deep in the evidence storage. Okay, guys, I'm going to wind up this live, wrap it up. Another one in the can. This is a Weird Watts Wednesday on a Thursday. I have been just trying to recover from my autoimmune flare. Some day I feel fine, and then other days I just do not. But for the most part, I am feeling mucho better and on the upswing. I'm really excited about bringing you guys more lives and videos. I also am going to be planning a Dragonfly. Dragonfly is our membership program over the Power Dragonfly is our membership program over on YouTube, because I am going to be making some changes to Parawomenradio, and I wanted to talk to you about it first, because it's actually going to be no more, and I wanted to talk to the Dragonflies about it first, but still be around just as something. And have you considered becoming a Dragonfly? Here, let me show you what I'm talking about. And if you're not subscribed, why are you not subscribed? I would really, really, really love to have you as a Power subscriber. If you really like my content, be sure to become a Dragonfly, and that's our membership, and it's $2.99 a month. I release all my videos early. We have special emojis over in the chat room. I kind of share things ahead of time with my Dragonflies, and I go live sometimes just for the Dragonflies. It's a way that I can support you guys and give you more content, and it's a way for you to support our channel. It's $2.99 a month, and I would love to have you. Okay, and I am going to put the link in the show notes and down in chat. So if you would like to become a Dragonfly, I would love to have you. I am going to try to amp up our Dragonfly program with the changes that are coming. And yeah, I would love the support to keep Parawomenradio going. If you want to support us a little bit more, we are on over on Facebook. We have the Stars program. You can buy us some coffee or hit the stars. Over on YouTube, there is the Super Thanks, the Super Chat. There's the Dragonflies, and we also take Cashapp, Parawomenradio. Yeah, so there's tons of ways, and these are all down in the YouTube show notes. So if you want to do any of those, it is not expected, but it is so appreciated. Okay, guys, I'm going to go. Thank you so much. I will probably see you tomorrow, but if I don't see you tomorrow, be sure to check us out Saturday night. I've got a guest coming on. I will be collabing with Jen from Crafted Evidence, and we will be having body analysis Indigo joining us. Indigo has been doing a lot of analysis on the Gypsy Rose Blanchard case, so some of you might already know who she is. All right, I'm going to go for real now. If nobody's told you this today, and even if they have, I am still going to tell you guys this. I love you guys so, so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
I miss my cue, but baby, I had you. Miss my cue, but I had you for that day. Here in the blue, I'm falling deep.
Be sure to give this live a thumbs up. Helps me go out into the algorithm party out there. Bring more people back to the party. It's just a free way to help me.
Baby, I'm dancing with you tonight, and it feels falling and hoping for some time with you.